Hi everyone. First of all, thank you for another opportunity to wear my conference jacket that I never wear. I'm Roni Pavon. I'm partner here at HFN as part of the cryptocurrencies team. 2 years and 4 days ago, we had our first conference regarding cryptocurrencies. That was actually the official launch of our crypto practice, and none of you would have come. Out of, I believe, 450 people that came here, we even took off this wall there. We only had like young entrepreneurs, small, medium to small companies that are trying to get the benefits of blockchain. That back in the days, the only benefit was the ability to raise funds quickly, easily, and without doing anything, basically. So our previous conference was focused about the legal aspects and the operational aspects of how to issue your token, how to do your ICO, and how to raise funds. And looking at this conference and its content, you can understand the significant change that we had in the past 2 years. The blockchain space in the cryptocurrencies industry is shifting on a daily basis in a pace that we've never seen. I mean, 2 years ago, it was the anarchy boys that are trying to change the world, work without any banks, any supervision. Now you can see sandboxes, you can see discussions with regulators. You can see real investors looking at this industry. You can see them operating due diligence departments. You can see the big players getting into this. For example, we have JP Morgan with their internal settlement token. We have Facebook with Libra. And we can see more and more companies that see the real benefit of blockchain and how they can implement this within their existing ecosystem that may bring them efficiency and business opportunities on one hand, and on the other hand, that's the biggest fear of regulators, especially financial regulators today around the globe. The main benefit that most of them look at these days is the basic ability that the first proof of concept of blockchain brought to this world. And this is the ability to, for the first time in history actually, to transfer value between people through the internet without any centralized body that decides whether this money will be transferred, this value would be transferred, when and why. And that benefit is especially, is a valid indicator about how we can take this entire idea of blockchain and cryptocurrencies and use them in markets and jurisdictions that have a significant gap between the way we do business, the way we transfer value, and the way they're doing it today in a very inefficient way. Africa is probably the most interesting part of the world to look at now, even though the first jurisdiction to implement this was actually Venezuela in the past year, where they issued their petro token, which is the oil-based token that is now sort of the official currency of Venezuela. So official that yesterday the government announced that they will airdrop their tokens on their reserve oil to government officials, to make them use this token within the domestic economy. So in order to analyze the opportunities of this specific part of blockchain cryptocurrencies, and specifically in Africa, we brought this amazing panel, consists of two of my best friends, just as a disclaimer, and a third one that may be a good friend someday. We just met yesterday, so you have a shot. Pavon, the executive director of Goodola, Gil Curry, head of innovation in Ignite, and Daniel Leon, the co-founder and COO of Celsius. And let's start with you, Gil. Because actually we started with you. Ignite was named recently as the most growing solar company in Africa. And you've been active there for like 5 years, starting in Rwanda and going across some amazing jurisdictions with amazing opportunities. What do you do?
Yeah, sure. Is this working? No. Can you hear me without it? It was off at some. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thanks, Roni. So Ignite Power is today the fastest growing solar provider in Sub-Saharan Africa. We provide over 1.2 million customers with a very wide range of solar solutions, with 3,500 agents operating in 6,000 villages, 5 countries, and growing fast. A few months ago, we signed an MOU with the government of Mozambique to provide 1.8 million people over there. So we are growing fast both into new markets throughout Africa and in the markets that we operate in to expand the range of solutions that we can provide customers with and to more customers. I guess we will talk about it in a few minutes during the panel, but I think that we are very unique in the market in the way we use and utilize the economies of scale that are available in Africa, where a lot of other players in the solar energy market see many problems in working in the most rural communities. We see huge opportunity, and that's why we provide to the customers with the most affordable price in the continent, which is a bit less than $4 per month for the basic system. Maybe I would just say in one sentence about the Pavon model, because I'm sure that those of you who hear from the impact sphere are very much familiar with it. I don't know about the rest. So using the Pavon model basically say that we pretty much giving a loan. We provide customers with solar systems for free since day one. Our agents make it operate on the, install the system on the roofs of our clients, and then they start to play just like a leasing model or a monthly fee. As I said, the very basic model is only $4 per month. Every month they send us the payment, then they get to their cell phone 4-digit code. They need to manually activate the system. After having the transaction made, the system operates for another month, and that's month by month they pay us this transaction fee, this operation fee, and after 24 months they end up owning the system and they don't need to pay us anymore. What we see is that most of the customers love the system so much that after those 24 months they actually start the system all over again in order to have another system or a bigger one for the house.
So you're saying you're collecting around $4 for more than 1 million people.
$4 is just for the basic system, so it's much more than that.
You're collecting dollars from more than 1 million people in Africa, where you can find amazing numbers about the number of unbanked on the one hand, and the number of people that own smartphones on the other hand. How do you deal with the collection in such countries?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we see in our customers, as I said, most of our customers are rural-based, so they live in the rural communities, in the most rural communities and areas in Africa countries. So as Roni said, about 80% of our customers actually do not have a bank account, which make it very much challenging and problematic to collect very large amounts of money for many people in 6,000 villages in 5 different countries. What we do see is that almost everybody do have a cellular phone. Not everybody has a cell phone, but definitely has a cell phone. What we actually see is that in a lot of villages, many people are more happy to have to be able to finally charge their cell phone in their home for the first time. It's more important for them than having light in their home for the first time. They're so happy just to be able to charge their phone. We saw people that called us one day after installation and asked us, why did the system stop working? Then we asked them what happened, and they just invited the entire village to charge their cell phones. And we had to explain them that there is a limit of energy that the battery can give. So as I guess that everybody know, mobile payment is huge in Africa, definitely in rural communities. So we use usually most of the transactions that we collect from our customers today are mobile payment based, which bears a lot of challenges. I guess that the biggest challenge is the very high transaction fees that we need to pay. For us, it's a big headache because the numbers are big, but for us, it's bearable because we are a big player, so the numbers are not that high. The main problem with mobile payment is that it's an upside down correlation. As the transaction is lower, the fee gets higher. So for rural communities that try to transfer money to each other, and we are talking about few cents only, because the average salary is less than $60. So the fees for those transactions is unbelievably high, which makes it pretty much irrelevant for many of our customers.
And that brought you to get some of your funding through donors.
Yeah, correct. So our model, we collaborate with a lot of donors from different parts around the world in order to provide customers with subsidies, so the price will be even more affordable. What we see today, and I'm sure that I will talk about it in a second, we see a lot of great platforms that can utilize blockchain in order to help to lower the friction of capital movement from different parts around the world to a development project in Africa. So we work today, we had a few pilots with different entities, some of them startup companies, some of them NGOs and different organizations that utilize blockchain in order to have this direct connection. And we see like big amount of money that already got raised from donors in Western countries, coming 100% of the amount reaching its destination in the development project. This is something that was not available or possible up until now.
And this is not exactly where you go in. You're basically fighting inequalities.
Yeah. Sure. So maybe so the origins of Good Dollar project and now not-for-profit foundation is its parent company and the CEO of it, Yoni Assia. eToro's mission was always to democratize financial accessibility. First in first world countries, and they do that through their investment platform. When we started thinking about what is our same strat or same mission, but for a bigger problem, as the Good Dollar project came about. It's a CSR, corporate social responsibility program with the same mission of eToro, just heading towards people with less means. And so at the end of the day, we all are, like everyone on the planet. We are all consumers, so yes. So the way we're thinking about it, first of all, so Good Dollar is a not-for-profit. It's its mission is to reduce financial inequality, and the way to do that, and this is actually like the 10th goal of the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. The way we're thinking about it is, first of all, there's a lot of people that don't have necessarily the concept of money, and definitely don't have the accessibility of money. And so, when we're thinking about reducing inequality, financial inequality, then the obvious idea is to give money to the most to the people that have struggled the most, because then you can make the most impact, and that's what drives us to Africa, even though countries like Ukraine are struggling as much as as Rwanda, for example, from an income perspective. And so the idea of Good Dollar is simple. If we're able to funnel more funds from first world into third world struggling hands, then we're reducing financial inequality, simple as that. The way we're doing that is introducing on the user side, the idea of universal basic income, which is a conversation that is being talked about around the world, in Andrew Young in the States, and in Corbyn in the UK, and many other places, basically giving people empowering people to decide what they want to do with their basic income. And that is what allows them to choose what it is that is the most important to them, and spend it on. The second piece, which works which Gil started talking about, is the idea of universal basic services. If we're giving away free money, or trying to funnel money to poor people, we want to make sure, and donors want to make sure that the money is going to be used in a fruitful way, i.e., no alcohol, drugs, whatever, out of pockets of donors. So that's where blockchain technology comes in, gives the transparency of money, or transparency towards donors, and hopefully kind of like we can have companies like Ignite offering their services to people in need, backed by donors in a transparent way, but on a larger scale.
Daniel, you're a banker basically. You're a banker that is operating and founded a crypto bank. What is a crypto bank?
First, I want to tell you guys that my attorney, hence this guy over there, told me not to use the word bank. So
I used it.
you used it, yeah. We're not a bank. But before I answer the question, I want to ask a quick question from the audience. How many of you here hold or own any cryptocurrencies? All right, follow-up question. How many of you want to own or hold cryptocurrencies? Gotcha. All right, maybe I'm going to give you a reason. Celsius Network is a financial platform with one single mission: to put economic freedom in the hands of the people. We do this by allowing people to deposit their cryptocurrency with us and pay them much higher interest rate than they would get paid on the bank. We also do this by allowing them to take a loan from us and pay far lower interest than they would if they were to take it from their current bank. In the United States today, I'm not going to talk about Israel, but in the US today, if you put your money, your savings in the bank account, you earn maybe 1%. With us, you earn average 6%. When in the US today, when you try to take a loan, if you're lucky enough, so say that you want to take it from your credit card, you're going to pay 15 to 20%. With us, you're going to pay 9%. And I think the other big difference is that when the US bank pays dividends, those dividends goes to shareholders, most likely to Warren Buffett, that has many interests and many positions in all these bank accounts. When we pay back our dividends or our revenues, we pay 80% of them back to the community. And we believe that as long as we can scale that business, Africa is an interesting use case, we can eventually achieve our mission of putting economic freedom in the hands of the people. We believe that we can do good before we do well. We believe we do good by doing well. That's what we do.
So, traditional banking systems today, if I simplify it, offer two layers of banking, right? One is keeping your money, so it will be safe, and the other one is financial instruments, and you're providing both. So maybe for those of us, you saw we don't have many people holding cryptocurrencies, so maybe walk us through what Celsius actually does.
So what we do is currently, in a few weeks it will change, but currently you download our wallet, the wallet that pays you back. You transfer your cryptocurrencies from your current exchange, Coinbase, Kraken, any of those, and you deposit them into our wallet. And we know how to manage those funds in such a way to generate yield on your behalf. We do this by working with 200 plus institutions that come to us on a daily basis asking to borrow your crypto assets. The way we protect your funds is we make sure that each time we lend our community assets, community that has trusted us with their assets, we always take collateral from those institutions. And we do so in such a way that when they pay us the 10, 12%, we make sure instead of just keeping those funds and buy a bigger building and another plane, we take 80% of those revenues and we give it back to the community, right? Very similarly. Same thing when it comes to offering loans. We take stable coins, we pay 6, 7% to the stablecoin owner that trusted us with the coins, and then we lend those stable coins, either converting into cash or lending those stable coins, and we charge our customers 8 to 9%. We can easily charge 15 to 17. Why? Because we can. We just don't believe that's the right thing to do.
So Gil, we see a variety of usage of financial instruments to be offered by, let's say, a potential crypto bank. You have the deposit side, you have the lending side, you have other financial instruments. The problem on your hand is actually only the transfer of value. Do you think Africa is ready to get financial instruments into its very, undeveloped economy, at least on the B2B basis?
I think that the most amazing thing about Africa is that there is no limit. So there is no limit. When I call my parents back to their home in Haifa, so I still use the line, right? FSR8. I don't call them to their cell phone because we all know what it is to have a stationary phone in the house, and only then we were all introduced to the cell phones. In Africa, in rural Africa, no one ever had like a phone line in their home, and they will never have one. They just leapfrog straight to the cell phones. I think that the same thing can and should happen in the economic sphere. We don't need to bring those community to the level of financial services that we know in here. We can talk whether the level that we know in here is good or bad, but let's assume it's good. I think that Africa presents us with an amazing opportunity to leapfrog, and Africa shouldn't be aligned with the rest of the world. Africa should lead this economic revolution. Africa can and should be the one place that can show us how to do things differently, more equally, more sustainably, and definitely I think that Africa is ready as a continent, as a whole, to show us, and together with technology that is already available, we need to find the right model that will lead the world to the next level. One thing that I want to add is that I don't think that we can just take the models that we know from our lives, from Tel Aviv, from New York, or whatever, and to just implement them in Africa. We need to think very deeply and to work together with them, with the people, with the end customer. We need to understand and to find out the model that will bring the most value to the customer. And it can't be, and I think it shouldn't be, the one that we know from here. That's why I think that Africa is absolutely presents probably the best opportunity in the world today in the economic sphere.
Starting from scratch as an advantage. So Tal, Gil is saying Africa doesn't need to align with current, traditional banking, but we can ask them to skip and go to the future, which the Western world is yet there. This requires a significant amount of education.
Yeah.
Is this something you embedded within the entire ecosystem you're currently building?
So first, I wanna say that innovation is already happening, kind of like in the methodologies. I just came back from Rwanda end of last week for the first time in Africa, to be completely honest. So even though I'm working on a project, kind of like the opportunity to visit only came about now. And so, kind of what we found is two really interesting things. First of all, kind of the communication company, the biggest communication company in Rwanda is MTN, has 5.2 million subscribers. There's a second one after that, Airtel, right? Yeah, thanks. And we went also to the biggest retail bank. And how many customers do they have? They have 500,000. So the phone company is actually like 10x bigger than the biggest bank. What's the difference? So MTN offers mobile payments. So what does that mean? So this is something that really kind of isn't offered here. And this is kind of like, I think what Gil said, kind of like they're already kind of like in the future where the where you can use kind of like when you have an entity, it's not a bank, which manages your money. So you can go kind of like into one of 15,000 vendors. They're all wearing kind of like this kind of like yellow vest or red vest, depending on the company, and you can exchange money kind of like on the street and basically either take some of your salary, which was sent by an employer, sorry, to an employee, and just redeem it and kind of like use it in the store. Right, so this is kind of like, this is already kind of like mobile money, which is not owned by a bank. So that's one thing like we're seeing, but still, it's a centralized system, right? So the MTN, the big company, which holds 5.2 people kind of like in like captive audience or whatever, is charging them exuberant amount of money in order to manage their funds. We know that from banks. And so kind of the system isn't changed. So what I think is happening is that, or what we're all hoping to happen is that through crypto, fees can come there's going to be less friction in terms of money holding. There's going to be more services available to the customer, and so on and so forth. To answer your question very, very briefly, because I've taken so much time to answer his, to complement his, the way we're thinking about, so it was quite astonishing. Like you asked, like who wants cryptocurrencies? Nobody said, yay, we want it. And why hasn't it? Because it's not about the money. It's not about the money, it's about what you do with it. And what it allows you to do. So when we're thinking about kind of like good dollar and kind of like wanting to reduce financial inequality, we first have to get to people and give them kind of like the basic understanding of what it is that we're trying to do, give them the tools to use it, and only then they're not going to get excited about good dollar. They're going to get excited about the electricity that they're going to get from Ignite because that charges their phones. They're just going to use us as tools. So the way we're thinking about distribution in Africa is working with companies, with amazing companies who has greatest huge reach within Africa to onboard customers, users of good dollar, but only because we're allowing them to redeem basic services using our money, not because we want they have something to do with the money, outside of the merits of what we can give them.
Daniel, you currently run a global offering of the services you're providing. Basically, that's a borderless offering, except for some jurisdictions, IST, blah, blah. Is there a difference between the offering in different jurisdictions? That's why I'm asking this. Yesterday, a common friend of ours told us that you can find two African countries that both were a French colony in the past. They have one border between them, and the only ability to transfer money from one to the other is through a French correspondence bank. So the entire monetary system between these countries is dominated by the French standard, and they're still very, very different. The ability to provide these services all across Africa, that's obviously the ideal thing to do, but did you come across a different offering given cultural differences between jurisdictions?
Look, we've got 61,000 customers in 140 countries. And there are two schools of thoughts. You've got the DeFi, right, decentralized finance, that believes that borders have no meaning and that we don't need KYC, we don't need AML, it's all decentralized. And that's nice in theory. It doesn't scale, and I don't think that regulation is going to let it happen at the scale that we would want it to happen if we are to really, fulfill that mission. I think Libra has been kind of trying to create this world central bank that completely disregards countries and governments and all this, all that notion, and we're seeing more and more regulators kind of fighting back. We've tried when we created this thing to create this kind of peer-to-peer network that also ignores various countries and jurisdictions, only to find out that if we want this to stick, if we want this to happen, there is no way of completely ignoring that legal foundation. So some of our services work in various countries. For example, in Israel, it does not work. The Israeli government is not letting crypto, or at least our offering, an offering like ours, to happen here. We don't believe that it's true for us, especially as Israelis, but regardless, that fighting against that establishment is the right thing to do if we want to get this started. What happens in 10, 20 years from now, it's really hard to tell. But I think that each time that we speak against the DeFi movement, we're being called traitors and we don't believe in the mission, and that's just not true. We believe that we should not allow perfect be the enemy of the good, and good for us is working within the various jurisdictions offering whatever we can afford, whatever we can offer right now, and working with the various regulators to explain the value that we bring to their people and how this will help people to achieve that sort of economic freedom, with the hope that we can convince them to let us operate in more and more countries. So the short answer is kind of yes and no.
That's the best answer in the panel. So, actually, I have like 6 or 7 more questions, but it's been a long day. So why won't each and every one of you summarize in one sentence? What's the future of blockchain-based economy in Africa as you see it?
You go ahead and
I'll go ahead.
figure it out.
All right. First of all, I think that everything about Africa's future is bright, and the opportunities there are absolutely amazing in every sector that we can look for. I see it in energy, in other solar providers and technologies, and sustainable solutions. We see it in finance. We see it in AI. We see it in all kinds of technology that we can think of. Every technology, including blockchain, that is available in here, we probably can implement it and to do good, both for business and from the impact point of view in Africa.
2 bottom lines, as Janet taught me.
Yeah, definitely.
Triple if you
Triple,
can call it.
Yeah, and it goes on, because there is the direct impact, there is the employment, there is the money that the country can make. It's the money, it's the green impact on the sustainable, the more sustainable future. So we can talk about this impact and implementation for long, but I think that talking specifically about financial inclusiveness, I think that the potential here is huge. The need is definitely there. The technology is definitely available. I'm not the blockchain guy, but it's definitely available. I think that the main challenge of us and of everybody in here will be to find the right model that won't just duplicate things that we know from our life to the new continent, but to build from scratch a real solution that will provide real value for both the people, the countries, and the governments, and the companies.
Okay, now I'll try. Sure.
Before you wrap up, just a comment before you keep wrapping up. You just mentioned 2 countries in Africa that are French-speaking and have to go to the French Central Bank. I don't want to signal out Africa as something special. You cannot transfer U.S. dollars between any 2 countries in the entire world, not Israel, not France, Germany, Holland, no developed country, without going through the U.S. banking system, meaning there are no transfers of U.S. dollars on Sundays or any other day when there's a national holiday in the United States. I mean, that's a lot bigger, if you think of it in global business, than we're...
You're right, and just to clarify that, we refer to their local currency, not the currency of another jurisdiction that needs to go through. Okay, so we started with the question, so go ahead.
Thank you. Alex from the Embassy of Kenya in Ramat Gan. I just want to congratulate the panelists for their excellent knowledge about the money markets in Africa. And for the audience, I just wanted to flag out that in Nairobi and the whole of Kenya, we have about 30 million people on mobile telephony transacting business every day. So the leap you're talking about from no fixed telephone lines to mobile telephones is actually happening in my country, and it has an impact in the neighboring countries, true. So as Jill said, I think the future, forget about the conflicts. The conflicts will go away because we are now living in
You don't need to say it in Israel.
Absolutely. So mine was just to thank you guys. The money market is thriving. Actually, the blockchain concept is already entrenched in Africa. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
That's fine. I would just maybe say something that like Eyal Herzog, who spoke here, said. Blockchain is changing kind of like the internet, and so kind of what is the Africa's future with the blockchain is, generally speaking, same as it is in the world. I'm a strong believer kind of like that that the introduction of transparency of the systems is something that would allow us to do frictionless, secure transfer of information between us, and I think Africa has a very strong opportunity because if you need to kind of like go through an AS400, which is the backbone of kind of like of data systems, kind of like in most countries, it's really hard to get into a reprogramming kind of like endeavor to change computer software or to change infrastructure and get or as Bill Gates said, kind of like if it works, kind of like, or I forgot what he just said. Yeah, if it just works, like basically don't fix it. So I think Africa, generally speaking, has a lot of opportunities because they're sometimes architecting information from the ground up.
In a nutshell, I think that Africa, especially compared to the Western world, look, the reason that crypto hasn't really taken off is, especially in the Western world, the alternative is just good enough. Especially considering crypto, the volatility, the security, and so on and so forth. When I want to pay somebody that I owe some money, I Venmo, or I'm not so sure what application you guys use to do this from, right? And people just don't have that dire need, considering what they currently do. What I like about Africa is that the need is there. The alternative does not exist. And the promise is also very significant, especially when focusing on the unbanked. Hence, I believe Africa poses a major opportunity. Yes, there are some certain challenges, but at least considering the opportunity in Africa, those challenges are worthwhile working on.
Any further questions?
What is the money used for the transactions?
So I think each is different. We have, it's quite technical. So we have an Ethereum-based coin, which is the backbone of kind of like of our ability to look at money and kind of like and see how it works, how people use it, and where does it go. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So basically yeah. Computer systems and stuff. It's
we use mobile payments, so in each country we use the mobile payment in the current currency. So in Rwanda, our customers that apply there in 6 hours, our customers use the mobile payment, the local provider, in order to transfer local currencies to our bank account. In Mozambique, the same, the local currency, which this is not a massive problem for us because we work in each market individually. But for sure, if we're looking on high scale, we're talking about very macro level, so it can have a lot of challenges as well.
Anyone else?
What mechanisms have you seen that are being used in Africa to counteract the influence of either government or large private sector organizations opposing this, or controlling access to land and resources that are needed by ordinary people to make a living?
I hope I understood correctly the question. If not, just timing. I'm a huge believer in PPPs, in private-public agreements. the way Ignite works, so we work very strong. We have very strong collaborations with local governments. So we work with the government to identify the needs, to identify the regions that we want to operate. We do need to remember that Ignite provides a solution for a massive challenge for the government. So there are hundreds of millions of people in Africa, tens of millions in each country without electricity. We provide them with electricity. So we work very strongly with the government because it's in their interest to work with us, and so it's the best win-win situation I've ever seen. Thinking farther down the road about situations like Goodola that need to work with, or other companies that need to work with a token together with the government, that's actually a great question. My take on it is I very much believe in working together with the government. I think that it's something that you must do in a strong collaboration to understand what their needs to fullest, how can you be helpful to the fullest, and what can you gain from this collaboration as well. Was that like pretty much
I don't think like anyone is against anything. Like what I've heard kind of like from even like central bank in Rwanda is just like we just wanna make sure that we're protecting kind of like the people, and as long as like as we can guarantee that, then everything should work. But people should understand kind of like what it does to the money. If it weakens, if a local currency spirals out of control of the central bank, that's a problem. And you can see that kind of like in Venezuela, like with your example, kind of like. So I think we need to be complementary. I think we need to work on the actual problems, and as long as kind of people understand it, and we come up with like solutions that are not trying to like that are not too experimental and kind of like are, generally speaking, kind of like right-minded. Like I think like we find partners all over to work with.
So if you, for instance, in a country that would tell you that it's better that you give real dollars and not good dollars for the cause of creating independence.
Yeah, I would send them to an NGO and see and tell them like that 80% of the money that goes into an NGO stays at the NGO, or being wasted on operational model people and marketing and salaries. So I would ask them how. So we're completely 100% not for profit. Like we're being sponsored by eToro. We're a lean, mean development team, about 15 people in total. As we scale, we'll probably like need more people on the ground. But the aim of the technology is to be way more efficient.
Anyway, blockchain is here to resolve this exact trust issue, so that you don't have with NGOs.
Yeah, definitely. From a transparency perspective, yes, definitely a ledger.
So sorry for cutting this, but we're anyway around, and you can also ask Daniel's wife, which is not less impressive from this panelist, that will run the financial workshop. So thank you guys for a super interesting discussion. We will continue this in our next barbecue. So.